What's crackalating? It's your boy, Aaron Showtime Taylor. You know it gets no better than this, and it's not going to get any better, right, until I am on the Coriolis effect.
Welcome to the Coriolis effect with Cory Oliver.
Hi guys, I'm Cory Oliver. Thanks for watching the Coriolis effect. Please hit the subscribe button below, and we hope you like this episode. Hi guys, we wanted to announce that like many podcasters, we just started a Patreon account. Visit our page at patreon.com/the Coriolis effect. We have 5 different levels of membership and offer early access to episodes, behind the scenes footage, bonus episodes, shoutouts, and much more, including personal phone calls, questions and answer sessions, and live chats with Bob and me. That's patreon.com/the Coriolis effect.
This episode is brought to you in part by Bailbag.org. That's Bailbag.org. Founded by Aaliyah Cruz, former inmate and now a teacher in local juvenile detention centers and state prisons, Bailbag.org provides recently released inmates with a duffel bag filled with essential items to help them rejoin and become a productive member of society. The items include a long-sleeve shirt, undershirt, black pair of pants, Oxford shoes, water-resistant rain jacket, body wash, shampoo, conditioner, toilet brush, toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, razors, a full-zip tracksuit, running shoes, all in a large duffel bag, plus a planner or journal equipped with a list of local resources. The recidivism rate of recently released inmates is approximately 65%. With Bailbag.org, that rate will drop significantly. Please visit Bailbag.org and donate whatever you can to help this worthy cause.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Cory. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good.
We have a very special guest on today,
Yes,
Aaron Showtime Taylor. Do you know who Aaron Showtime Taylor is?
I do.
Who is Aaron Showtime Taylor?
Well, he's a perfect story of redemption, honestly, in my
Do you know
book.
who he is without looking at your notes?
Yes.
Okay.
I have to look at one note. In 2016, Proposition 57 was passed, and that gave people the right, that gave people with the 3 strikes rule a chance to parole, and he was one of them. And
Right.
so he was released early from prison, but he was also one of the ones that was reformed, and he has doing great things.
Yes.
And he I think one of his goals while he was in prison was to be an announcer for sports.
For an NBA game.
For an NBA game, and he did. And he's really an incredible person. And I don't think that they do enough for the inmates to reform them.
Right.
But he took it upon himself, I think, in many ways to make that happen for him. And he
So
really is.
When he was in prison, he started calling the basketball games in the yard.
Yes.
And did it funny. And after a while, people wanted to see him more than they wanted to see the basketball game. But he was very good about it. He said, if you want to play in this league, you have to come with me in sermons on Sunday, and you have to do the right thing, and no fighting and everything else. But he got so popular that the NBA would come in and do a game a year, and he would call that game.
Yeah.
And our friend Festus, by the time he came in with the Warriors, it was not just Aaron. It was Aaron. He had 7 statisticians doing the stats for every game. He had he could call up stats. And in basketball, it's like 50 stats. There's points, there's rebounds, there's block shots, there's whatever they have. He would keep them in his head for like 20 people.
Yeah.
No,
he's really smart guy.
So he came out, and then he called the game for the Golden State Warriors.
State Warriors, yes.
He now calls the the Santa Monica Leagues, I think. And he's been, he's got Aaron Showtime Taylor. He's got a brand. He's a
He's
very,
really
very
busy
nice
guy, and in fact, we've been trying to get him on for
Yeah.
3 times, and he's so busy
He
that.
canceled twice on us. This is the 3rd time. Yeah.
And he doesn't do it, but it's no fault
No,
of his. He's
no
just
fault of
busy,
his.
and you know what? I'm so grateful that he's, getting blessed and getting out there. So and
It's a
he's
shame he didn't get a bail bag when he got out.
I know we'll have to hook him up with Aaliyah Cruz, who is the founder of
We were supposed to
Bailbag.
tell her when he came in, by the way.
I know.
Oh well.
Well,
We'll
he's
get
coming
those
in
two
today, and I'm
touch with him.
excited to meet him because he's just sounds wonderful. We had a short, brief conversation, and he just sounds wonderful. But everything's good with you, Bob?
Everything's good with me.
Nothing to complain
What's on the
about?
what's you
You
got
have
on the-
nothing to complain
I
about?
have nothing to complain about. What you got on the
Wonderful.
table over there?
Oh, this is one of our new sponsors. It's Breezo. They are, they're actually, every single one of them tastes good. I've
Do
tried
they?
them. Yes, I had a taste test with Irina. This is Breezo.com. I need my glasses.
It's a health drink.
It's a health drink, yeah. This one's pineapple turmeric. Actually, they've got some great flavors, too, that are, let me see if I can even use your glasses. Oh,
Oh, how about that? Oh, they look great on you.
Not really.
No, not really.
Okay. There's pineapple, turmeric, berry beet, lemon ginger, and pomegranate hibiscus. And I'm not saying this just because they're
wife
sitting
makes them.
right here. No, I'm saying this. Every one is equally as good as the other. I couldn't pick out my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, I loved them all. But there's 3 grams of sugar. It's an excellent source of vitamin C. It's super healthy for your immune system. You can get them on Breezo.com, BREEZZO.com, or Amazon. I think they will drop on Amazon in a couple weeks. So hopefully by the time the show airs.
By the time the show airs, they should be up
It's going to drop, yes. But it's actually full and packed with a punch. There's 3 grams of sugar in these is not a lot. That's barely
like I drink a
nothing.
Sprite has like 85 grams of sugar in it.
There's 0 fat, 0 saturated fat, 0 trans fat, 0 cholesterol, 0 sodium. Total carbohydrates are 4. Dietary fiber is 0, which is fine. It's excellent drink. I love it. And it's made with Manuka honey, this one, pineapple juice, and apple cider vinegar. Everybody loves apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is good for your skin, your hair. It's an excellent digestive aid. It's just a great drink.
And you can say that they are not paying us.
They're not paying us. This
No,
is
not
a
at all,
sponsor
'cause-
that I actually believe in because I've tasted them.
And
So
it's my wife's company.
okay, you shaking your head? A little shake of the
I
head.
always shake my head.
Wow, I'm starting to get nauseous. These are a real strong prescription.
they're-
Are these prescription or are these just the kind
they're
you buy?
like readers.
Oh, I don't want to buy it. Sorry,
They're
glasses.
$1 at the dollar store.
I love that store.
Actually, they're $1.06 at the $1.08 at the
yeah,
dollar
I
store.
have a whole bunch of those around my house.
I do. I buy like 50 of them, put them all around the house, right? So
Because you lose them or you sit on them.
Well, now the question is, okay, so I have them at like every desk, and I have when you put one on and you leave that desk, you take them with you, and you leave them at the desk.
I try to leave them at the desk. It doesn't always happen. Like I have a really nice pair that I got from Costco. Costco has great frames, by the way. And this is, again, an unsolicited commercial, but Costco has really wonderful frames. I think I have like a Salvatore Ferragamo pair that I got for like $50 from Costco. And
So do you leave them where you pick them up, or you carry them around?
I bring those with me, and those are in a little case. I try my very best to put those in a case. But the 99-cent ones, like, I leave them where I pick them up.
Yeah, because I have 2 desks in my office. If I get up from one desk, go to the other one, I put down the glasses from the one desk, I pick them up from the other glass. Yeah. They are like, they're not chained, but it's as if they're chained. They never go more than 5 feet from their place.
But if you do that,
I never lose them.
you never have to worry about getting up and getting a pair when you're sitting down, because this is the age that we're in right now.
And they're $1 at the dollar store, so I buy 50. I'm going to put them every 5 feet in the house. So,
It's
All right.
true, though.
so Aaron will come in a few minutes. We'll listen for the doorbell, and we'll see you in a few.
Okay.
Are you tired of the same old fantasy football leagues that you hear about online and that get canceled after only a year or so? If so, Dynasty Owner has your back. Dynasty Owner unites the fun and excitement of fantasy football with the skill and strategy of the front office by incorporating a salary cap and real NFL player salaries for die-hard fantasy football fanatics that want the real GM experience. It adds a whole new level of strategy to fantasy football. We think it's such a big difference that we hold 3 patents on it. Go to dynastyowner.com. New leagues for the 2021 season are forming now. That's dynastyowner.com. Are you worried that you won't be able to find anyone to play in your league? Don't worry. Dynasty Owner can help you fill your league with fantasy football enthusiasts like you, so you won't have to worry about finding enough players. You can choose to start your own league, join a league that needs to be filled, or you can even purchase a team from a previous owner if you'd like to take that team to the championship. If you are finally serious about joining the big leagues, go to dynastyowner.com and start your dynasty today. That's dynastyowner.com. We want to take a minute and talk to you about ExpressVPN. Most people don't know that your internet provider, many websites, and even apps collect all of your data and then sell it to whoever's willing to pay for it. They know what websites you visited, what products you've bought, what products you looked at and did not buy, and some people can even copy your passwords and usernames and then access your private accounts. ExpressVPN encrypts all of your data and sends it from their servers, so no one knows where you are. With ExpressVPN, people may think you're in Bangladesh when you're really in Chicago. They would think you're in South America when you're really in Detroit. ExpressVPN protects you from hackers who try to steal your information, and also from spies who try to use your data for their own nefarious purposes. ExpressVPN also allows you unrestricted access to all parts of the internet. How does it work? ExpressVPN uses the best-in-class encryption. Whenever you are connected to ExpressVPN, every piece of data going in and out of your devices goes through a secure encrypted tunnel and cannot be seen. Not by the government, not by hackers, not by your internet service provider, not even by ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN also employs IP masking. Every device has a unique IP address, which can be traced back to you. When you use ExpressVPN, Your connection gets routed through one of their 3,000 plus servers, hiding your real IP address and replacing it with one of their own. This allows you to browse the web truly anonymously. With servers in 94 different countries, you have a wide variety of places you can choose to appear from. ExpressVPN also provides 24/7 customer support with live chat, which means your question will be answered within seconds, not hours or days. It is also one of the easiest apps to use. Just open the app, and with one click, you're protected. It is also physically impossible for any of ExpressVPN's servers to store logs of any customers. And ExpressVPN is a top-rated VPN provider, rated #1 by CNET, The Verge, Wired, TechRadar, and many more. Just go to expressvpn.com/Cory to get 3 extra months free with a 12-month plan. This is a limited-time offer for the Coriolis Effect with Cory Oliver listeners. Again, get 3 months free with a 12-month plan. Go to expressvpn.com/Cory. With ExpressVPN, you can protect all of your digital devices, your computers, your phones, your tablets, everything, and have no more border restrictions. Again, that's expressvpn.com/Cory. All right, let's start the show. What were you going to say?
Idea,
what were you going to say?
That's a great idea. Today, we have a very special guest who I have had the privilege of watching on a former guest of ours. Festus Azili had him on the show. His name is Aaron Taylor. And he is the true amazing, yes, amazing.
If that's not fresh out the 1930s radio.
Exactly.
We're going to get the zip sound.
we got that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. You got to have all of that in there.
Aaron, you have no idea.
You know what we have, which is the best sound effect ever?
I love Bob.
Oh, wow.
That was me. He took that from a soundbite. But I want to quickly just go over who you are, Aaron, because you are a true story of redemption, and
that's what they tell me.
You are, and you're so inspiring. And we've been scheduling this interview for a while, and life happens, and you've been busy, and
about 3 weeks.
Yes, and I'm so grateful to have you actually here in studio. Thank you.
Cool, no problem.
I'm so happy. We've honestly, when Bob told me about you, I just was in tears, just because you are.
Did he show you a picture of me first?
No. No.
Oh my God.
No, but for those of you listening, in 2016, I'm going to give a little background. Proposition 57, right, gave people with 3 strikes the chance for parole. Mm-hmm. And you're going to go through your story today. You got out of prison. Not today, but you... Sometimes
it feels like today.
I know. Well, we all feel like we're in prison right now. But just take me from the beginning. I just want you to roll, because I know you have quite a story and I want to hear all of it.
Well, we can go in medias res. We'll start in the middle and then work our way around it.
Perfect.
So in 2016, Prop 57 passed, which gave individuals like me who had been sentenced under the 3 strikes law, if the crime you committed, or if there were multiple charges involved, if one of them was considered nonviolent, then you can have an opportunity to go to the BPH, Board of Prison hearing, and show that you was worthy to come out. Well, even though the voters passed it in 2016, the state and CCPOA, the Correctional Officers Union, fought it, for 2 years. So I didn't get a chance to get notified that I was going to the board until 2018. Right. And so then I was already in some self-help groups. I was in one group called GRIP, Guiding Rage into Power, where you do a deep dive into the traumatic events that take place in your life from childhood all the way through arrest. Right. And then you learn about what happened to you with trauma, the definition of trauma being something that happens to you that you had no control over and didn't want, right? And so you learn that, and you learn how that switches over to where you go from being the victim of trauma to the perpetrator of trauma on someone else.
Because hurt people.
And healed people heal people.
Right.
Right. And so I had to become a healed person so I could reach out and heal people. And this is what GRIP was doing while we're waiting for the courts to clear the 3 strikes to go forward. So I get notified that I'm going to the board in 2019.
Hang on a second. You just get a little closer to your mic, or pull the mic closer to you if you want to sit back.
Wow, so 2019, right?
Well, see, this time I had gum because I seen in one of her clips you guys made her take her gum out.
Yes.
I love it.
See, I went and did my homework before I came to this
interview.
I love
that. No. I love Aaron.
I'm not pulling that out.
Soundbite.
Yes. I saw the clip. I do my homework. I know who's getting ready to interview me.
I know.
Made her took her gum. I was like, oh no, we're not going to do that one. Because after about an hour, it's going to be like, ooh, are we still in prison?
Oh, we got water and drinks there for you.
That's fine. We'll get to that in a minute. Are any of them zero sugar?
All 3 grams or less than sugar. 3 grams of sugar left. My wife makes those. That's her company,
Okay.
the Breezo. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So tonight I'm going to give her a shout out on my podcast when I get back home.
Great. That'd be nice.
No
Thank you.
problem. Yeah. If I can take one of these with me.
Take all 4 of them with you. Got
All
a
right.
caseload downstairs.
Okay. So I get notified I'm going to the board, right? Every plan I'd ever thought of, every dream I ever had of being a play-by-play broadcaster, every dream I had about what type of company I wanted to start when I got out, right, goes into effect. Because I know when I go to the board, I'm going out.
Yeah.
There's nothing's going to stop me from going out. And it just so happens that I went to the board. They have 17 commissioners that are on a rotation. You get the main commissioner, then you have another one here. They're usually on videotape, though, now because of the pandemic.
But
And
by the way, can I just interject 1 second? How long had you been in prison?
so I did 26 total,
26 years.
26 years total. And on July the 15th, I went to the board. Now, to back up just a little bit more, because I was in the movie Cue Ball, the guys that worked at Heist Projects who produced Cue Ball knew a young lady by the name of Hillary Blount who works for the People up north in Oakland. And so they asked her if she could represent me at the BPH. And so over the course of maybe 8 phone calls between her and her 3 younger students who were all like, they were going to college soon. I called them that was my dream team. That was my squad, right? You know, and they came in and beat me up and, you know, send me through the training process, get ready, because she wanted me to be ready for the most conservative commissioner that they had. And it just so happens the week before I was supposed to go to the board, they put it off a week. And I had the most lenient commissioner that week.
Wow.
We didn't go to the board that week. We went the following week. And who we trained for was in there.
She was there.
No, he was there.
He was there. Okay.
Anderson. And I think maybe 10 minutes.
Can I do that?
Well, it just goes to show you've got to prepare for whatever it is that you're going to do. You need to prepare.
That's
And
life.
That's life.
That's life. And it is so indicative of what takes place after I come out. So being prepared for Anderson meant that when I went in there, and when the CO told me, he said, "Oh, you're going in front of Anderson."
It's like no sweat. I got
Aaron
this.
Showtime Taylor, baby. I got this. I got this. I'm smiling, but on the inside, I'm like, oh, shit. Oh, God. You stuck me in front of this. Oh, damn.
Oh,
Right.
no.
But I go in, and his first question to me was, this is your first parole. This is your first hearing. What have you done to address any of the antisocial behavior you had? He didn't get to ask another question for another 10 minutes. And that's the goal for anybody that's listening, that's going to the board. If you have a family member going, you have to control your own narrative. You can't let the commissioner ask questions and it seems like they're pulling teeth from you. You have to be prepared to go in and say, this is why I'm ready. And so when he asked that question, man,
The floodgates opened.
that's it. By the
Well,
time
we have an hour. What was your answer?
well, by the time I finished in about a good 3.5 minute spiel, right, I covered AANA. I covered being a referee in the prison basketball sports and football. I covered parts of my childhood. And when I got to that part, he said, wait, hold up, wait. He said, go back to the AANA thing. You a Muslim, right? And I said, yeah, I practice Islam. He said, so how did you feel about being in there where, you know, it's like a Christian thing? I said, they never said I had to be a Christian to be in there. They said I had to always refer to a higher power. So that could have been Jesus if I'm a Christian, Allah if I'm Muslim. It could have been Buddha. You know, it could have been if I was, because I practice Kundalini sciences as well. So if I wanted to give it up to the great feminine power within me and my X chromosome and allow the Kundalini to rise, that's the higher power, you know, and all I have to do is focus and give it to that. And so when he looked at me, he said, okay, I see, you know what you're talking about. Let's move over here to another direction. Right. And in my head, I said, either I just messed up or I just did the greatest thing that I could possibly do. And then he asked me, so how did you grow up? Right. What was your living situation like? And that's when I said, Anderson, can I ask you a question? He said, yeah. I said, can I just talk to you? Forget the narratives and stuff. Can I just talk to you? He said, yeah. I said, look, man, I grew up in a house full of gangsters, intergenerational gangsters. My grandfather was a gangster. His father was a gangster. My mother was a gangster. My uncles was gangsters, right? They ran weed from Mexico to L.A. on the ships. You know, they used to bootleg down south. They, you know, the straight Smokey and the Bandit type stuff, you know, with the 1930s and the 1940s bootleggers. And they brought it out here to California. This is how I grew up. He said, so it was in your family? I said, yeah, it was in my family.
Generational.
I had no choice but to be a gangster when I grew up, right? I grew up around dope fiends, pimps, you know what I'm saying? The whole 9 yards, right? And
we're a product of our environment, right?
But then I told him this. I said, but that's not why I came to jail. He said, what? I said, no, I want to make sure we're clear on this. I'm not a product of a bad environment. I'm a product of making bad decisions in a bad environment. Because I have friends who've never been to jail. Well,
I mean, that
it definitely impressed him.
Yeah,
it definitely impressed him. He you could see it in his face, and he kind of relaxed, you know. And the other commissioner, I forget her name, but she was taking notes. And then they had a third commissioner who was off camera, who was watching as well, along with a representative from the Los Angeles DA's office.
Because they knew you had made the distinguish between it wasn't just, okay, this is what I came from.
Well, what he basically said, it's my fault.
Yes,
yeah.
That's wonderful.
Any decision that I made, at probably around the time I was 15 or 16, legitimately, about 15 or 16 was my decision. It wasn't anybody else's. I can't put it on. Nobody made me do nothing. You know what I'm saying? I made the decision to start gangbanging. I made the decision to pick up a pistol. I made the decision to fight people who wore a different color than me. I made the decision to go to school while I was doing all of that and maintain a B average. You know, so there was something in me, even after my grandfather died when I was 12, that kept me somewhat on point, you know, and those are the decisions that was being made by me, just like the negative ones as well. I made the decision to use drugs at 16. Wasn't nobody else's decision but mine. And nobody was like, here, you're going to use these drugs. No, please don't make me do it. Okay, I'll do it. Right. It wasn't like that. Right. It was like, what's that? Cocaine. Well, how do you use that? No, I don't think I want to use that. That costs $25, $50 to use. I can spend $10 on this bag of weed over here until I started making a lot of money at 16 and could afford it. Right. Each step along the way. So starting at 2016 and bringing us back through, I'm gonna cover it up for you because you're listening right now. You know, I'm an interviewer as well, so let me round this back out.
I have so many things going on in my head right now, and so many things I want to know, but I also want you to just roll it.
He had a whole bunch he wanted to say, but he couldn't.
And I'm okay with that because you know what? You didn't spend 26 years in prison to come here and have me talk.
Why not?
Because you have a story and you bring me to tears because so many people can go in there and remain the victim and you didn't.
No.
You've chosen to rise above, make great choices and to learn and to educate yourself inside and to take another avenue.
Let's go off script for a minute. Let's go off script for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's forget the 26 years for a minute.
Okay.
Right, just for one hot second.
Yeah.
Last night I'm doing my Instagram live podcast. It's called Hard in the Paint. And I have the coach from the Ohio Bruins out of Ohio.
Yeah.
His number one player, Cameron Mitchell, and a couple of other players, Ant McDaniels and Daryl Brown. And so Cam is on first. And he said, man, I was shocked that you even invited me onto the show, man. I saw Cue Ball. I know your whole story, man. I'm just shocked that you reached out to me to invite me. And I'm thinking to myself, I may be a play-by-play guy, but I'm also an interviewer, you know, and I like interesting people. Yeah. But to a man, even when the coach came on, he was like, man, I understand that, you know, you're trying to interview us, but come on, man, you Aaron Showtime Taylor. We know you did 26 years in prison. We know how you came out. Do you realize what type of inspiration you are? And there's a part of me that recognizes it, especially among young black men, but just across the board in general, right? There's a part of me that recognizes that what I went through and how I came out is extremely unusual and impressive to people. There's another part of me that dislikes that. People look at me that way, because that's the part of me that's still trying to remain humble. That's the part of me that's just trying to do a job. You know, that's the part of me that likes uplifting other people's stories. You know, I wanted to uplift a team who went 14-2 in a bracket where the teams that they play are all high caliber. And it turned out that I discovered that Aaron Showtime Taylor as an individual is literally having my name mentioned with people who I look at and say, those guys are celebrities, or that woman is a celebrity, or those kids are celebrities. My name is being mentioned in that same frame. And it's still hard for me to wrap my mind around that.
Love that.
You know?
I know, but you know, I can get preachy, but I'm not gonna. I think, you know.
Your show.
Well, no, today's about you. Today's about you.
I've been talking. Take your time. Go ahead. You need some gum?
No. I know.
I saw the
He
clip.
watched one of my shows and then saw that I actually was chewing gum. Well, so I'm speechless. I really am. I know we all have our own prisons, right? We can keep ourselves in prison even though we might not be behind bars.
Right.
We can still be in our own
Mentally
prison.
shackled.
Thank you. Thank you.
Spiritually shackled.
Thank you.
Yeah, emotionally shackled.
Thank you. And I'm guilty of it myself. Like I'm not saying anything I'm not guilty of doing, right? But to be confined for 26 years is a long time physically, right? In a small room with the same people. And so when I heard your story, I get it. You want to remain humble, and you do. You are so humble, but there's a greater purpose for you. And I've always said this during my pain. If we can turn our pain into our purpose, then it's worth 1 day, 1 year, 26 years, right? And you're turning your pain into your purpose, and you're out there helping others. And that's the goal. It's not to sit as the victim, but it is kind of the goal is to help
I had to
other
become
people.
a monk.
Tell me all about this. See, there's like all these layers to you, Aaron Taylor.
First of all, he's going to tell you how he taught himself 5 languages and taught himself every religion.
I wasn't
And
even
you
going.
didn't bring your.
I wasn't even going there.
You didn't bring your compendium, did you?
No.
I have a picture of it. I'll
But
put
you
up on
have
the
you have
screen.
to definitely have the photos, the photos and the video.
So you did not waste time in these
No,
26 years.
well, the first 7 years I did. The first 7 years I wasted time. The first 7 years I was blaming everybody under the sun other than me for why I was in prison.
And what was the moment in prison that you said, okay, enough's enough. I'm laying that down and I'm going to go after this?
The first aha moment was right after 9/11. So we're talking 2002 in January. And I'm in High Desert State Prison, and there's a free staff Muslim imam who intensely dislikes Shia Muslims. Right, there's this inner, almost like Catholics and Protestants in Christianity over in Ireland. It's the Shias and the Sunnis in Islam. And at the time, I'm definitely a practitioner and a studier of Shia Islam, right? And this guy, to his credit, I don't want to just beat up on him, but I'll just say he grew up in a cultural version of Islam. He grew up in the Middle East. So over there, it's more of wherever you grew up at, that's the culture of the Islam that you get. Over here, I get to study whatever I want, and I get to make choices. Well, he didn't like my choices. So after 9/11, inside of prison, it was really, really crazy. It was at High Desert State Prison, there was maybe 5% of the staff there was black. So you're really dealing with a lot of white guys, hyper masculinity, you know, go America type stuff. And if you were a Muslim at that time, they ended up eventually putting us all in the hole. But I went because the free staff Muslim imam wrote a letter to the administration saying that I was a part of the same group of Muslims who flew the planes into the World Trade Center. Now, just in case your audience is uneducated, Osama bin Laden and that whole Taliban thing are all Sunni Muslims. None of them are Shias, right? Iranians mostly are Shia Muslims, but at the time, the terrorists who flew those planes into those buildings were all Sunni Muslims. None of them had anything to do with Shia Muslims, but this guy chose to exact a revenge on me. And so I'm sitting in a hole in High Desert State Prison up in Susanville, California. And I distinctly remember looking, saying, you know what? I'm not going to discriminate against Muslims anymore. I'm not going to trip on if a person is from the Nation of Islam, if he's a Sunni Muslim, a Shia, Sufi Muslim, whatever. That's out from this point forward, right? I'm just going to be Muslim. Because the word Muslim literally means peace in action, right? And I was not being peaceful with myself or towards other people. It was difficult to smile. It was difficult to relax. It was difficult to find a state within me to be peaceful. And so when I go to Calipatria State Prison from the hole in High Desert, this is where I meet Tobias Tubbs at, who was on Kelly Clarkson's show with me. And this is the guy who starts the smiling revolution. So when I first meet him, he's smiling. I'm like, what the are you smiling about?
Love it.
Right?
Yeah.
He said, why you not smiling? I got 50 to life. I don't have no reason to smile. I may never get out of prison. He said, I got life without. So what are you smiling about? And then that's when he broke it down to me. He took me into the Arabic and showed me salam, which is to submit, but it also means peace, right? And then he put an aleph in front of it, which was Islam, which was the command to be peaceful. And then he put the meme or the M in front of it, which is Muslim, which is a person who is actively at peace. And then he asked me the question. He said, aren't you tired of walking around with your fist balled up and your face wrinkled all up? He said, show me where your physical shows peace. I had to think about it. There was nothing peaceful about me. I didn't even have peaceful thoughts, you know. And at that moment, I shifted away from Shia Islam into Sufi Islam. So to be a Sufi is to literally mean calm, tranquil, peaceful, just like the top of a lake with nothing on it, no wind blowing it, there's no waves on top of it. It's just, and then you drop the rock on it and the waves go out. The initial point where the rock drops is the point where your mind or your psyche changes. And then the reverberation from the peace that you, or whatever it is, it could be positive or negative, but in this case, I'm talking positive. Whatever it is you do from that moment that rock is dropped, spreads out.
Ripple effect, right?
The ripple effect, cause and effect. And so from that, I went away from not just discriminating on a Islamic or religious basis, because I quit discriminating against Christians, Jews, and everybody after that. Then it went racial. Then it went sexual. Then it went emotional. I start dropping everything that prevented me from finding peace. I start dropping it off. And the more I dropped off, the more I smiled. The more relaxed I got. The more I didn't have to have an evil look on my face to try to intimidate other men inside of a prison on a lifer yard. I could just be myself now. You know me by reputation. Now learn me as the new individual that's coming out of this shell, coming out of this cocoon, coming out of this gangster image. While I'm saying I'm at peace, now I'm going to be at peace.
How was that received by your inmates?
Actually really positive, because again, I had a reputation, a street reputation. And then during that 7 years before that, I had a reputation as well that definitely kept people away from me. And coming away from there into this peaceful thing, I was in a position where nobody would challenge me physically, maybe verbally. And the verbals I really wasn't worried about. It's really sticks and stones can break your bones, but words will never hurt you. You know, the most things, I'll quote Megan Thee Stallion. They talking about me behind my back because they behind me.
I love that. I love that. They're in your rear view mirror for a reason.
Exactly. And each step along that path, which led me to your name just shot out of my head. That's crazy. I'm having a senior moment.
Cory.
Yeah, Cory. I'm really having a senior moment right now. This is crazy. I'm only 55. I'm middle-aged. And I look good.
You look good. You don't look a day over 54.
This is when we start going into the sciences of the body and learning how to literally regulate your breathing, your heart rate, you know. And then I start learning about the Kundalini. So to study the Kundalini, I had to go back and relearn Arabic again. I had to go back and relearn Hebrew. I had to go back and relearn the glyphs from Egypt, the Mandarin glyphs, and the Aztecan glyphs, right?
When you say relearn, had you known it before?
I knew it from an abstract way. In other words, somebody taught it to me.
Okay.
Right. And so I knew the template and the infrastructure of the language, but I had to go back and relearn it from the culture that it came from.
Gotcha.
Rather than you telling me what it meant. I had to go see what those people said it meant to them. So then I had to go and start getting lexicons from Hebrew and Arabic. Lane's lexicon from Arabic. I had to get a Brown Driver Briggs Hebrew to English lexicon. Then I went and got a Strong's Concordance from the Christian teachings, which in the back of that book, it has Hebrew, it has some Aramaic in it, but it also has a lexicon inside of it as well, right? So then I had to go not just learn the language or relearn it, I had to learn what each letter as a shape, as a character meant to build that word, right? So if we take the Cory, right?
Yes. Cory.
Cory. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the vowels.
Oh.
Because vowels,
Oh.
the vowels allow you, because a constant, it means constant. So it doesn't move until you put a vowel on it. Then the vowel allows you to bend and twist the consonant into the way you want it. The short version is we'll take the words MLK. We'll take the letters MLK. In English, the first thing we're going to put there is an I. Because that's the most obvious. Milk. Mm-hmm. Right? In Arabic, you would put A, which is Malk, or Malik, which means king. You can put a U in there, which means Mulk, which is kingdom. Right? You put an E up in there, milk. I don't remember exactly what milk meant, but that's what happens when you put a vowel in there. It allows you to take the consonants and bend them to the thing that it's supposed to represent. So if we take Cory's name and just take the C, the R, the Y is a vowel as well. So
It says cry. That's so me. That is me, Aaron.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. You just broke my whole life down in like 30 seconds.
I wasn't going to say nothing.
24 minutes.
But you hit the nail on the head.
Oh my gosh, Aaron. You
That's why
really don't even know.
I was going to go away from the K and go to the Q. There's a Q in Arabic called cough, right? So we'll go Q, R.
Do you know how many boxes of Kleenex we've gone through on this
Do
show?
you know
50
how
episodes?
literally that one moment I could have had this moment with you like 3 years ago and saved a lot in therapy.
Oh, wow. I could have saved time in prison.
That is so, I know. Okay, so go ahead,
wait,
sorry.
So
yeah.
this QR, or if we write it in Arabic, it's called farah, is rooted in the word speak, to say. Cory literally means a person who talks.
Oh my gosh.
You don't know the half of it.
I remember what you just said coming up the
But
steps.
you're kidding.
Yeah,
getting
the people
out-talked.
don't know. I was busy for about 30 minutes, and my wife and Cory came into the room and go, "We've been talking." Uh-oh.
So,
I'm going to go with that, Rena.
but these are the things I got interested in.
Yeah.
Because
that's
I had to learn this to understand this Kundalini science that was coming at me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm still a heterosexual man. I'm in an all male prison. But I'm learning about feminine energy within man. Right? So it's kind of scary because, you know, if you're living in a hyper masculine environment, prison, you know, where homosexuality is frowned upon unless you're the one engaging in it. Right? And so now it's like, well, wait a minute. What is this divine feminine energy you talking about? Ain't nothing feminine about me. I've been in prison all this time, bro. I didn't come up in here to start. What do you mean I'm supposed to start studying this and tap into? What do you mean tap into your feminine? What is this stuff you talking about? Until you start studying it. And when you start to study it and then you start to practice it, then it becomes something different because now we're not talking about quote unquote feminine energy. What we're talking about is the duality within each individual that's created. And the duality in man starts with the X and Y chromosome. The X being the feminine, which is representative of the XX, and the Y being representative of the way men practice manhood. Right? And so to understand how to relate to your woman or to women in general is to understand how a woman feels through us understanding our X. So now I just have to say, okay, so the X represents compassion, mercy, right? It might turn into that.
No, I always hold up signs to Corey like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I just wrote 2 hours because it's so interesting. I want to keep going.
This is what happened the last time I was
well,
here.
let me just say the thing about this is that, you know, you're so on, you're right, and so spot on, because I mean, there's a book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
I heard about it.
Which, you know, I've read it, and it's like, if it didn't divide men and women, you know, I'm not saying it's a bad book. It gives you some clarity as to why men think the way that they do and why women think the way that they do. But this breaks it down from a chromosome aspect, which is it's so helpful. I mean, you should write a book about this. Literally,
you need it from a physiological standpoint. And so what I did was, well, let me hold that point there and let me go here. Once I started to understand this, now I know how I used to think at 25 years old. And by the time I'm getting this information and I'm absorbing it and it's becoming a part of who I am, I'm 42, 43, 44 now. But I still remember what it felt like to be 25 and want to be accepted by my peers.
right.
So when I started these sports leagues in prison, at the prison I was at, and most of the people playing are 22 to 28, 29, 30, but there's a couple of older guys too. For them to come to the yard, they had to come to Juma service. So when they came to Juma service, I was able to teach them what I'm talking about, which opened the door after the games are over with during the week. They could come ask me questions. Hey, man, what did you mean by this? What did you mean by that? So I was able to teach what I'm talking about now to dudes who probably would never have even thought about Kundalini sciences, XY chromosome. Even I had to even talk to the pimps.
Wow.
And so when I went to the pimps, this is really interesting. I went to the pimps and I gave them this science this way. I said, man, let's take this Y chromosome, right? I said, let's put a lid on it, put a rim on it. I said, what that look like? And the one said, that looked like a martini glass. I said, yeah,
martini glass, yeah.
Right. I said, so you go after women to be a pimp, right? He's like, yeah. And I said, so women are XX chromosome. And so we put, you know, Muslims can have 4 wives. So that's 8 X chromosomes, like that. I said the number 9 is the number of completion, right? They said, yeah. And I said, so you're X and Y, right? Yeah. So here's your champagne glass or martini glass. You take your X and bring it over here. Now you got 9 X's. That makes you complete. So if you're a Muslim and you have 4 wives, then you have everything you need in those 4 wives, right? Hey, man, where'd you get that stuff at, man? That sounds like some scientific pimping right there. And I said, no, it's not pimping at all. This is called life. And different religions practice this in different ways. If you switch over from what you're doing from something negative into something positive, you can actually have people, or mainly women, working for you, right? And still achieve the same goal that you want without exploiting them. You can get the same result. In my company, Elevated Entertainment, it's mostly women. Look, I have a saying. If you want to uplift women, put them together and get the fuck out the way.
Yeah, right.
Just wait for the results.
Yeah.
Just wait for the results, because they're going to, everything that I know about what I'm talking about comes down to this. Most of the time, people haven't been trusted or entrusted. And so when you entrust them or you empower them and you get out their way, they're going to, listen, he did this for us, we're going to do this for him. We're all going to win. I've yet to meet anybody who don't like being used, as long as you know why you're being used.
Well, let me just tell you, as a PTA mom and
Here we go.
And a Moms in Prayer mom,
Here we
and
go.
women, we know what we're doing. We can carry many hats, and there's a reason why we have the children, but that's fine. We do. We can really make it happen.
Y'all
so
are amazing.
You're absolutely right.
I even had to go to this aspect to it. And this was in a class I taught with women. It was all women in there because I got invited in by a Muslim guy to masjid. He's like, I want you to speak to these sisters, man. They heard about you. Man, I don't want to go in there. No, I'm just going there. So to cut straight to the lesson, it was like, why do you think women are in when the act of love begins, that women begin on the bottom?
Oh.
Right. One of the sisters raised her hand and says, because we submit. No. No. You guys bear children.
We do.
Like you said, you wear many hats. You can take care of 6 or 7 different things at once. So women are a lot stronger than men. Women are the foundation of society. So whatever we're doing on top can only be done based on the foundation that's beneath us. However high the society builds is based on the strength and the broadness of the foundation. Right? And I said that, and they looked, and another woman raised her hand. She said, "Where did you get that at?" I just study. And I look, and I pay attention to what's going on. You know, we men talk a lot, and we can physically do a lot. But when it comes to building a society, when it comes to building a country, when it comes to building a neighborhood or a family, everything starts with the foundation.
It does.
We can't do nothing without y'all. There's a bunch of talk going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Bragging and, you know, arms akimbo, cake blowing in the wind. Yes, I can do this and I can do that. But in the end, it comes down to, well, who's your woman? Does she call you her man? Does she use the possessive my? Is there a possessive case when she speaks about you? Is there a possessive case when you speak about her? Or are you just, you know, doing this stuff for show? And if you're just doing it for show, then it can easily fall apart. Your foundation is weak. Soon as the water comes in, the sand
Just washes it away.
But if you built on solid foundation, right? If you built on the fact that you understand who you are as a man and you understand your feminine principle, and you use that X and send it over there, and you maintain that strength, and the woman who you invest into doesn't take your X and then make it XXX, right? Because a lot of men are caught up in XXX. And they're caught up in the physical appearance, and they're caught up in, you know, what catches the eye. And the woman that sees that can use that and take your X and turn it against you, because now she sees where your weakness is at. Rather than you understanding what your feminine energy is and inviting it over to her and letting her say, okay, come on over here with this, and now let me hand it back to you. If I really go deep into this, I haven't even went deep yet.
Yeah, hang on, slow down.
Wait, look. Click, click. Put the seatbelts.
Yeah.
I know.
This dude is hitting some G-forces right now.
I need a double, whatever it's called, parachute.
So I've spent 26 years in prison
26 years.
studying.
You did.
The first 7 years, I was a moron, an idiot, a half-wit, a nincompoop, a-hole, all of that, right? But the last 19 was about deep, intense restructuring, reshaping, reforming, right? One of the things I like to use is the word recreation. A lot of people in prison are involved in recreation. They play dominoes and pinochle and, you know, sports and stuff. But that same word, if you put a dash between the R-E and creation, recreate. And I spent 19 years recreating myself. I used the cell as a womb, and I put myself back into the womb. And I spent years in the cell studying the stuff I'm talking about. Not to sound like Damon Wayans on In Living Color when I come out, right? I didn't want to sound like that, you know. Excuse me while I retain water for a moment.
So awesome.
I didn't want to sound like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the type of person, and I want to project to individuals who are studying this type of stuff. You want to be the type of person where the definition of wisdom becomes breaking down the most complicated thing in such a way that a 5-year-old can understand it. And the example I give there is if daddy has to go see a neurologist, right? And they have to cut a piece of the scalp out and put the wires and stuff like that. How do you explain that to a kid? I think I said this to Festus too, right? And he kind of looked, and I said, the way you explain it is daddy's head is sick. And this doctor's going to help him fix it. You don't try to explain to him, you know, a child or her, you know, first they have to check out daddy's medulla oblongata, right? And then we need to go into the
yes, I have a child.
The endorphins
totally
are
get
at.
it.
Right?
Yes.
So you explain it, everything that you do in such a way that a 5-year-old can understand.
Layman's terms, yes.
That's wisdom.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I can have the knowledge, and I can break this down, in medical terms and psychological terms. But who's going to understand that unless I'm talking to people that watch the Big Bang Theory on a regular?
Right.
No, I'm talking to ghetto people. I'm talking to people from my neighborhood. Right now, I'm talking to a whole new audience. And so I can use the same words to describe this to all of those audiences, and the people that understand it are going to understand it on the level that they're at. If there's a psychiatrist listening, they'll be, oh, yeah, I read that in Hockenberry and Hockenberry. If there's a doctor or doctors listening to it, they'll be, yeah, he's talking about this. If there's spiritualists, they're going to be like, yeah, the Kundalini sets in the bottom of the spinal column and the 10,000 nerve endings, goes up the spinal column. Everybody's going to understand it on the level that they hear it. And because of that, even with the language that I was talking about, the philologists, the orthographists, they're all going to hear everything that's being spoken from the level that they have it. A mom is going to hear what I'm talking about from a mom's level, a prayer mom, a PTA mom, a soccer mom is going to hear each one of these things from that specific aspect. I remember that. Yeah, that's exactly how I explained it to Tommy. That's what 26 years in prison can do for you if you spend your time the right way.
Well, and I guess that's one of my questions to you, and forgive me, I don't know. Are there many programs within the infrastructure that help the inmates, reform themselves, or is it just? And I don't want to say just, but is it a conscious choice? Is it
It's always a conscious choice.
I mean, is it the individual? Or do they say, okay, you're in prison now, and now you get to come over here?
Do they help you get there, or is this something you have to come up with on your own all the time?
They have groups in there. The groups I took worked, but I went in looking for those groups to work.
7 years after you were in.
7 years.
Right,
No, it wasn't 7 years. It was 2006 was the first time I walked into a group. So everything I was doing from 1994 to 2001 was straight a-hole stuff.
By the way, what was your original sentence?
50 to life.
50 to life.
Yeah.
Wow.
25 to life for assault with a deadly weapon and 25 to life for an attempted robbery.
Okay.
Oddly enough, you would listen to that and be like, damn, assault with a deadly weapon and attempted robbery, that sounds hella violent. I didn't write the law, but the law says they were serious crimes but non-violent. I'm not stupid.
They have assault with a deadly weapon as a non-violent crime?
A serious non-violent crime.
Serious non-violent crime.
Serious non-violent crime. Now, I'm not stupid. I know what happened in that store.
Yeah, where's the threshold as to when it becomes violent?
Listen,
there was shooting going on.
We had a shootout in the furniture store.
A non-violent shootout.
It was a serious non-violent shootout.
Yeah.
Right? The only violence that took place was in my face.
Yeah. When the bullet hit you in the head, right?
I'm not stupid. I know what violence looks like. I grew up in a violent environment. There was violence taking place in that furniture store. It didn't start out violently, but when I pulled the gun, I can't say his name, but when I pulled the gun on him and he looked and then looked back at me and I looked at him and I said to myself, this guy is really finna fight back. And then he knocked the gun out of my hand and tackled me. And then he got up and ran to the front of the store yelling to his coworker, this guy's got a gun. And in my head at the time, it's 1994. Okay, so I'm not the same person, but I have to take you back there.
Right.
This motherfucker just, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
And I pick my gun up and I start shooting at him. Little do I know, when I get in the aisle, he's got a Super 38 and the coworker has a rifle. And now they're shooting at me. Like, oh, damn it. And I'm ducking back in the aisle now.
And you're like, wait, this just turned around.
This just went all bad right now.
Wait, tell Cory the story that you go from a shootout to a softball game and how your mind changes.
Oh, man. So
that's intense, by the way. I mean, it's not. I've actually been in the middle of a shootout before on Sunset Boulevard, and I was hiding behind one of those little trash cans, and it took a minute to realize that the trash can were those metal ones with the diamonds in it, so you could see right through it. And the gunman ran right past me and grazed my shoulder. I was with my friend, my best friend, and it was very, very scary.
I can imagine.
But so I can imagine what you're going through.
Wait, you're gonna love this story.
the difference between what you went through and what I was going through is you were a participant in something that you had no.
Yeah, I was on my way to the Chinese movie theater.
This is trauma.
Yeah.
What I said in the beginning. Something that happens to you that you have absolutely no control over, and it affects you.
Yeah.
That's trauma. Mm-hmm. So you were in a traumatic event. Like you said, the gunman grazed by you. I can just imagine me not being involved in something, and then the dude that's shooting passes me up and grazes me, and I'm like, about to release my bowels and everything else. This is something that they do teach you in the groups inside, empathy, to put yourself in somebody else's shoes so you can understand what it is that they're feeling. So then now you know why you're not supposed to do what you did. Okay, his story. So it's 2009. We got a softball league that I started, and we're playing underhand fast pitch, right? And the ball's flying at, and I'm like, looking at this thing, and I'm not trying to get hit by this ball, right? So I forget the dude's name. He said, "Man, when you involved in shootouts and stuff like that, man," I was like, "Yeah, but I didn't see those bullets. I could hear them. I could see this ball coming, man. It's gonna hurt if I get hit by it."
That's true.
So, I mean, you sound like a punk, right? I don't care what you're talking about. I don't want to get hit by that ball.
It doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't.
It's not a softball.
No, it's not. And it did. Listen, the shot to my face actually, now that when I think about it in reflection, hit me and drove my head into the wall, and then I fell down. Right. Whether you want to call it the grace of God or mathematics, at the moment I turned my head and that bullet hit me, it didn't take my head off.
Wow.
Right. He was about 25 feet away from me when he shot. But to go back to the moment that everything switched in there, right? I go in, and robbery is a business to me at the time. It's like, I come in, I pull the gun out, you see the gun causes fear. Give me what I want. I'm out of here. Mm-hmm. That was my life. Right. And I seen the look on his face, and this guy's not finna do what I want him to do.
Yeah, say, dude, what are you doing? I have a gun. You give me the money. I'm out of here.
It's simple.
This is the way it works.
I'm not in here to harm anybody. You're not a gangbanger, so I don't have to worry about you trying to kill me on colors or something like that. This is, to me at the time, quote unquote, a simple robbery. It's funny that I use that language because in 1994, that's what robbery was to me. This is part of, and it alludes to the question you asked about the groups. There's a thing in the group called the thingification of a person. You don't become humans anymore. I have something I want to do. You have something that I want. I'm going to come in and take it from you because I don't see you as a person. I see you as part of what I need to get what I want from you, and I need to get it as fast as possible, and I need you to cooperate. When you don't cooperate in my world, then we escalate a little. Cock the gun. This guy means business. Give him what he wants. If I cock the gun and you don't give me what you want, then I'm going to tell you, listen, don't be a hero. Give me the money and let me go on about my business. This guy did none of that. He was like, fuck you. You're not taking nothing from me. And then rushed me, knocked the gun out of my hand, and then jumped up and ran and told his coworker he's got a gun. So now I'm trying to get out of the store because, okay, this is not going to work out the way it's supposed to.
Right.
I'm not here to kill nobody. That's not what I'm here to do. The business part of this is over with. Let's get out of here.
Right.
And as I'm going up the aisle to try to get out, now I'm getting shot at. Oh, shit. Let me get back in this. Wait a minute. What just happened? What in the world just happened? Right? And so I, try to make my way to the front, shoot a couple of shots, move up, just like in the movies, It's the same thing until you run out of bullets.
Right.
Now we're in the position where if I go out this door, the one I came in, there is nothing there to protect me from the bullets that are going to come flying at me. I'm going to get hit, and I know I'm going to get hit, right? And I don't want to get shot. Then there's this other door over here that I didn't see. Let me make a choice and go over here because there's a couple of columns that can protect me. And I open the door up, and it's bars. And the sun is coming in, so I know it's facing from the east. I know that now. I didn't know that then. I wasn't paying attention, but the sun is coming in. And I looked, and I see these bars, and I look back. And I see The employee with the 22 rifle lined me up, and I'm about to go. My life as a thug, as a criminal, as a gangster told me, this is it for you.
Yeah.
Because this is how you lived your life. So I go back here, because if I'm going, this is what I want to see, some light. And I turned my head as he fired.
Oh my gosh.
And it hit me right here on the cheekbone.
I see it.
And drove my head into the bars. And then I fell down.
Did the bullet graze you or did it go in?
No, it went in.
It went in.
It hit the bone and flattened out.
Ooh.
Right. And I'm unconscious for a brief minute, just a few seconds. When I wake up, the owner of the store is like here by my head, and the employee's over this way, and he's moving in to hit me with the butt of the rifle. And the owner stops him and says, no, he's on the phone with the police. Right. Now, 7 years later, 8, I come out of high desert. I don't want to be discriminating against religions anymore. I'm moving away from the racial stuff. I'm moving away from, judging people based on their choices. My rehabilitation didn't begin until I looked back at that moment when that man told that employee, don't hit him, the police are coming. It took 8 years for me to understand the mercy that he had to tell that man not to bust me in the face with the butt of that rifle and deform me, try to crack my skull. I came in there with the intentions to rob him and take from him. We get in the shootout. Him and his employee could have died. I could have died. One of those bullets could have shot out the window and hit somebody innocent driving by. Any of these things could have happened, but by either the grace of God or mathematics, where what we was doing in there was all mathematical principles, avoided it, right? He didn't let him hit me in the face with the butt of that rifle. And it took me 7, 8 years to finally sit back and say, I owe it to him to show him that he made the right decision that day to allow me to live.
That's so right.
Are you
You're
ever
so
able
right.
to contact him and tell him that thank
I
you?
want to.
You
You
think
know
they'd
what?
let you after 20, 30 years?
I want to, but
Well,
they won't. The
Yeah,
law,
they
the
go
law
check.
prevents
Right,
it.
right.
I don't know what he may be going through. I don't even know if he's alive, him or the employee, right?
That's so good, though, and so beautiful.
But
that-
keep telling the story. Maybe he'll listen in by dumb chance. Maybe he'll hear one of these podcasts or one of your
Hopefully,
stories.
or maybe when I'm off parole and I can just be like, forget this law.
Right.
I know his name. I don't know where he lives at. I know his name, and I'll go on a show and put his name out there. Hey, man, if you're listening, I want to talk to you. I want you to look me in the face, because I had to write an apology letter as part of the groups that you're in. You have to, sometimes they bring crime victims into the group. They're not the person you did it to. But at this point, you've tapped into the empathy so you can understand what this person is feeling as a person who's been the victim and the survivor of a crime. Right. And so they may not be your victim. They may not be your survivor, but you get to look at them through the eyes that hold empathy now. And you give them the apology that you want to give to the person that you actually perpetrated your crime against.
Let me ask you a question, because I was driving home last night and I heard a news story about the state of today, where if you commit a crime under $1,000, they're not even going to arrest you. And it was about people, I think 2 guys walked into a Walmart or something,
I
just
saw
took
that
a
video.
bunch of
I have
stuff
the video.
and just casually walked out. So I happened to be at a Vons pretty far away, and I was doing the checkout, and I said to the checkout lady, I said, let me just ask you a dumb question as I was pulling my card out and paying. I said, what do you do when people walk in with hands full of stuff and just walk out of the store? And she said, we're told to not even chase them, just let them go. How do you feel about that? That now we're in a society where you could literally walk in a store, grab whatever you want, walk out, stroll.
It's under 1,000.
They won't. In New York, you're not allowed to chase a suspect unless it's a felony. So if I come up and steal your purse and there's under $1,000 in there, they can't even chase me.
Yeah, I'm not. I might not be the best person to ask that question to, because in my mind, when we start talking about prison reform and criminal justice reform, the thing is swinging too far.
You think?
Yeah, because listen, man,
But that's why I want your take, because you're directly
there has to
affected
be some
by it.
sort of
You need prisons.
yeah.
I'm not the one that's sitting around talking about you don't need prisons. There's people that need to be in prison.
Right.
There's people that need to do a lot of time in prison.
I see prison as serving two functions. One, rehabilitating people. Two, keeping people away that aren't able to be in society or should not be in society.
Should not be in
Should
society.
not, right.
And then that's a judgment call, but I don't mind putting certain people in a position to make that judgment call.
Right.
If you do something to a child, you shouldn't be walking the street.
Right.
If you do something to a woman, if you take a woman's honor, you don't deserve to be walking on the street.
No, I go further, but yeah.
Listen, I go further too. I'm just keeping it right
Yeah, I
now.
get
Just
you.
No,
I
there's
think
a threshold for me, right? And even with the death penalty, there's a threshold.
There is, and a lot of people say it, and I know both ways, but I'm of the opinion that if I go home, get a gun, knowingly go out and end somebody's life, what gives me the right to live? It's not like I'm driving a car and it was an accident. I intended to end this person's life. What makes the right for me to live?
So I agree with you with just this caveat. If anybody's going to kill you, it would be the family.
That's eye for an
You
eye,
don't give
right?
it to the state.
Yeah.
The state may incarcerate you and hold you for a certain amount of time while we're going to trial or whatever. But if you're found by a jury or by judge to be deemed, to die,
Right.
then it shouldn't be the state to do it. It should be the people.
Okay. The reason they don't do that is because, yes, you'll have the children or the wife or the husband, everybody, they'll say, I want to throw that switch. And they'll feel great about it for a couple days or years. Later on in life, it's going to eat them alive that they ended somebody's life.
Then at that point, we're at the point where we're talking about, then you sure you want to have the death penalty? Because if you want somebody to die for committing a crime against your family, then don't have the state do it.
Yeah, if you can't do it yourself.
You do it.
Yeah, it's true.
Because you have to live with that decision. And that puts it in a place where we're talking about empathy, but we're also talking about religious principles.
Well, I want to get back to the thing that just took me down, which was, mercy and grace. When you couldn't see, which is one of the things that I loved about your story so much, is because you talked about that. You talked about when you can put yourself in other people's shoes, and that's what you did 8 years later in that moment. And you thought about the store owner and the employee there, and you didn't just think about it. You acted on it, and you implemented, the next 19 years of your life, and changed.
Not just to that, but we'll use karma too, because so the life leading into being arrested, and then the 7 years, first part of incarceration, was all bad energy. Okay, now I'm coming into my senses. I got a lot of bad energy out there. That stuff is coming back. So I need to start putting good energy out. Mm-hmm. One of the first things I started doing was, so prison isn't the most cleanest place in the world, right? Obviously so. And a lot of people have bad hygiene. So the first thing I started doing on a level 4 prison.
How many levels
four
are
is
there?
4.
So level 4, and then you have the shoes and death row. So, but general population is 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Okay.
And
4
is
being the highest
yeah.
security, right? When you go on a level 4 yard, they're usually violent, and there's a lot of people there with something to life.
Were you sentenced to level 4 for life?
No, you're sentenced to CDCR,
Okay.
right? And you can work your way down, but because I had the amount of time I had, you have to go to these level 4s. At the time, you went to them first.
You're
Later, they
sentenced
changed
to
the
a
law.
number of a time.
Gotcha.
The prison system determines where you go in the
I
prison
gotcha.
system.
Okay.
So one of the first things I started doing, because I was studying the medical part, the learning my body, right? And so a lot of guys, including myself, had bad eating habits because we get a lot of processed food, right? And so now that stuff sets in the intestines and whatnot. And so I started studying the intestines, the gastro tract. And I'm looking, and I start looking at the colon. I'm like, what the world? Because a lot of guys at that time were getting colon cancer, right? And so how do we prevent this stuff? So I start studying, okay, we need to figure out how to do this. All right. So I started teaching guys basically how to clean themselves after they finish using the toilet, how to actually make a wet wipe, we're on a chalkboard. This is how far back it was. They didn't even have dry
Right.
whiteboards in,
Yeah.
right? We're on a chalkboard. I'm taking the images that I'm studying from the books, drawing the colon, the anal tract, the whole thing, the rectum and all of this. And I'm like, look, you have to learn how to get yourself an enema. And again, simple examples, right? Back then, coming into the visiting room, a lot of drugs was coming out of there. Okay, men only have one pocket that they can bring it back in. Mm-hmm. As gross as that sounds, that's how it comes in, right? And so my example to them was, so you're willing to stick drugs and everything else up in there, sometimes knives to hide it from the police to keep from getting extra time. But you won't take these little hoses that we had and put some water in there to clean it out.
Mm-hmm. It's called an enema.
Right. Basically that. And so once we got over that hurdle, then it was easier to start talking about the health of each one of us and how keeping your colon healthy will help you live longer, because we all got life up in here and we want to live as long as possible to try to be, even if we're 78, which would have been my age, we want to walk out of here. Right. And so we need to stay healthy. And since they give us all this processed food in the canteen and the food they're serving us in the canteen isn't really that great, we need to be healthy. And so that was one of the first things I did to start giving back to people. One of the coolest moments.
Was that in your speech to Anderson? I'm just wondering.
No, I didn't tell him about that.
Okay.
I told him about some other stuff I did.
Okay.
But one of the coolest things that happened, dude, he had been in prison 30 years, you know, for murder, and he wasn't going home. And he came up to me on the yard. He walked, can I talk to you for a minute? Like, yeah, step over here for a minute, right? Dude's a little taller than me, but like well built. He's scary as hell. Even outside, I can say that now. In the moment, I'm like, yeah, what's happening? What you want to talk about? But now I can be like, this. He said, I just want to thank you, man. I said, for what? He said, man, I've been attending your class, man, and nobody never taught me about the stuff that you're talking about, man. Wow. And then he gave me a hug.
Wow.
Right. And I'm sitting there, I'm perplexed because I'm like, you know, we don't hug.
Mm-hmm. Typically.
Right. Yeah. You know, so that's the one thing. Right. And then the second thing, he was a person who was always quiet in class. He didn't bring any notebooks. He never took notes or anything like that. But obviously he paid attention. And then he came back and thanked me, you know, and it happened again, you know, like every 2 or 3 weeks, somebody would come up and say something to me. Right. And I started to understand the positive energy that was starting to go back out. Right.
Makes you feel good.
It did make me feel good, but it was also kind of scary because I wasn't used to it.
Don't miss part 2 of Aaron Taylor on the Coriolis Effect with Cory Oliver, coming this Thursday.
The Coriolis Effect is produced by JS Productions, with host Cory Oliver, producer-editor Bob Victor, and assistant editor Cade Bombsell.
Hi guys, I'm Cory Oliver, and thank you for watching the Coriolis Effect. We hope you enjoyed the previous episode. Here are some more episodes you might enjoy. Hit the subscribe button below, and have a great day.